Alrighty, so we'll go ahead and get started. These trainings will be recorded and will be posted on the website for everyone to go ahead and access at a later time. So my name is Reynaldo Rodriguez, and I am the program manager for the BE305 program here at the City of Miami. I'll begin by just giving a brief background and how this program came about, and then I'll kick it over to the Touchstone team, who will talk about compliance, requirements, how to comply, and then we'll have a live demo at the end of how to do the benchmarking process through the Energy Star portfolio application. So in June of 2021, City of Miami Commission went ahead and passed a benchmarking and retuning ordinance. From this ordinance came the BE305 program, which was implemented by the building department this year. So for the past year and a half, we've been working with Touchstone IQ, who's an energy and water benchmarking solutions provider, to help us with the implementation of the program. We've been using them to help educate building owners, track reporting and compliance data, and managing a help center staffed with trained sustainability consultants. We've also went ahead and launched a website which will serve as a one-stop shop for all your benchmarking needs. And you'll have things on there such as more background on the program, requirements and compliance dates, frequently asked questions, how-to guides, which walk you through the process of benchmarking, and also training videos. And then, as I mentioned, we have a help center. We have a dedicated email address and phone number for that. And I'll go ahead and drop that in the chat once I'm done. So just to put the program into context, the City of Miami has stated an overall goal of achieving carbon neutrality by 2050 with a 60% reduction from the 2018 levels by the year 2035. We also have 3 different strategies that align to this program. We have our Resilient 305 strategy, which is our joint strategy with Miami Beach and Miami-Dade County. So we have an action on there that relates to BE305. We also have our Miami Forever Carbon Neutral Plan, which is the city's greenhouse gas reduction plan. And then our Miami Forever Climate Ready Plan, which is the city's climate action plan. And then we're seeing that with, when 55% of the citywide greenhouse gas emissions in Miami come from building energy consumption, building efficiency is something that must be prioritized. So the program BE305 is meant to improve efficiency of energy and water usage through tracking, benchmarking, and retuning. Buildings waste up to 30% of energy and water due to inefficiencies and poor operations. So because of this, we're going to focus on the larger buildings, both public and private, residential and commercial. Here on this next slide, this is actually a map from 2020. And we see that back in 2020, we had a little over 30 cities and counties that have adopted some sort of benchmarking policy. And then I'll pull up the map from 2022. Now we're seeing over 40 of these cities and counties that have some sort of policy in place. So we're seeing that more and more cities are adopting a benchmarking or retuning policy. And we expect that to keep growing. Miami-Dade County is also working on their version of an ordinance, which is going to mirror ours. So by complying with our program, you'll be ahead of the game once their ordinance comes into play. And here on this slide, you'll see some of the benefits from the program for building owners and managers. We're seeing an increase in asset value, improving your operating margins, improving tenant retention, and then distinguishing your property from competitors. So later on, once you do submit your benchmarking reports, you'll have a map, which is interactive, and you'll get to compare your building with other buildings of the same type and see how you rank. And then for tenants, some of the benefits are improved indoor air quality and comfort, increased tenant satisfaction, and of course, lower utility bills. And then here we just see some, I guess, results from other cities that have a benchmarking ordinance in place. And, you know, all the trend is that everybody does see a reduction in energy consumption and savings along with that. So here on this slide, you'll see the distribution of total buildings per tier. So the first buildings that are going to be required to comply are those above 200,000 square feet. And that's a total of about 401. And then later on in the year, the buildings over 100,000 square feet will add another 267 to that. And then here you'll just see the different compliance dates, the different tiers that I mentioned. So, you know, October 1st, we expect everyone over 100,000 square feet to comply. But our most recent and earliest compliance date is June 30th, which is for those larger than 200,000 square feet. And that's all for my end. I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and kick it over to the Touchstone team. All right, you should be good.
Everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining today's Building Efficiency 305 presentation for the City of Miami. My name is Parissa. I'm a project manager at Touchstone IQ, working in support of the City of Miami, and I'm joined today by my colleague, Jeanette Herrera, who is an energy and sustainability specialist. Today's session is recorded and will be shared and posted online after we finish up. So we'll also make sure to save some time at the end for Q&A, but if you do have any questions come up along the way, you can just enter those in the chat box. Oh yeah, you can go ahead. Yeah, but here's the agenda. So this is just an overview of the topics that we'll be covering. This is intended to be a 101 style training for first-time reporters. And we'll get started. So benchmarking is a widely adopted practice used for tracking the energy performance of a building over time. By measuring a building's energy use and comparing it to average consumption of similar buildings, owners and occupants can better understand their building's relative energy performance and identify opportunities to cut energy waste. Sorry. Some of the benefits allow owners and occupants to understand their building's relative performance and helps identify opportunities to cut energy and save money. This also improves our health and ensures resource security in the long term. So the reporting schedule, buildings 200,000 square feet or larger are required to comply by June 30th, 2023. The rest of the sizes, gross floor area, will be phased in throughout the next subsequent years in October. So 100,000 and 50,000 and 20,000 and above. So these will then be reported by June 30th annually after that initial compliance deadline of October. So the owner of each covered property, 50,000 square feet or above, will ensure that retuning is performed as well, but this is not going to start being required until 2028. The owner is subject to comply any public property or private property, except for any property with a single family home or duplex, solely residential multifamily building of 5 units or less, or any building with industrial use. Covered private property is a property other than a covered city property or a property owned or operated by Miami-Dade County, the state of Florida, or the federal government with a building or buildings that exceed 20,000 square feet of gross floor area. Covered public property means a property with a building or buildings that exceed 20,000 square feet gross floor area and is owned, leased, or managed by the city, where the city regularly pays all or part of the annual energy and water bills. Commercial buildings do account for 35% of GHG emissions in the city of Miami. So this statute was enacted as part of the city of Miami's ongoing goal to reduce greenhouse gas pollution by 60% in 2035 relative to 2018 levels. So there are two pathways for building owners to reach compliance with Building Efficiency 305. So that will be submitting an annual benchmarking report or requesting an exemption from reporting, and given that the building meets one of the following criteria. So benchmarking is not required for a covered public property for the current reporting year if the owner submits documentation to the director establishing that the property has met one of the following conditions. The property does not have a certificate of occupancy or temporary certificate of occupancy for all 12 months of the calendar year being benchmarked. A demolition permit for the entire building was issued for the calendar year being benchmarked, provided that demolition work has commenced and legal occupancy was no longer possible prior to the end of that year. The property did not receive energy or water services for the entire calendar year to be benchmarked, or the covered property had an average physical occupancy of less than 50% throughout the calendar year for which benchmarking is required. For a covered private property for the current reporting year, benchmarking is not required if the owner submits documentation with evidence in the following conditions. So it meets any of the exemptions defined for covered public property, special circumstances as determined by the director, the property is under financial hardship and provides proof of the same, or the covered property may be exempted from electricity benchmarking if more than 50% of gross floor area is used for residential purposes, and the property is not master metered, or the owner does not have access to master meters or other means to obtain whole building energy data. And the serving electric utility does not provide data aggregation services or access to whole building utility data. However, once such services are available from the utility as determined by the director, the properties will no longer be exempt from benchmarking requirements and shall file initial benchmarking reports for the first required reporting year following the data availability. So that means that reporting is the typical pathway towards compliance. Reporting is completed online through Energy Star Portfolio Manager. Submitting the initial report will be the most time consuming, but moving forward with the annual process is a lot more simple and quick. So what do you need? An Energy Star Portfolio Manager account. This is EPA created a free benchmarking tool and is considered to be the industry standard for benchmarking across the US. Building information, your property will be entered into your Portfolio Manager account and enter all of your building information as well. You'll need a Miami building ID. Each building is assigned this. You would have probably seen this in your mailers, but this will be a unique ID required for reporting. Additionally, you'll need whole building energy and water usage. And we also have the 2023 reporting link, which is where you'll submit your report, and we'll go through that shortly. After you've submitted your report, you will get either an in compliance message. That means your report is error-free and it was approved by the city. So you'll receive that email notification letting you know that no further action is needed for that reporting year. If your report does contain errors, missing information, or exhibits a drastic change in usage when compared to previous years, you will receive an email notification that your report is in pending revisions. To bring your building into compliance, you will have to correct the errors and then resubmit or provide an explanation for the drastic change in usage. Energy Star is, as I said before, a free online tool offered by the EPA, and that's going to be used to measure and track energy use and greenhouse gas emissions. This allows owners to benchmark the performance of their buildings and compare against similar buildings and past performance. More than 250,000 commercial properties use Portfolio Manager today. There's 80+ unique property types, including schools, hospitals, offices, retail stores, etc. This will provide an energy use intensity score, which is an annual energy use per square footage in your property, and will also calculate 1 to 100 Energy Star score. So buildings with a score of over 75 can earn an Energy Star certification. On average, Energy Star certified buildings use 35% less energy. Thank you for listening. Now we will move into the live demo.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeanette, and I am an energy sustainability specialist here at Touchstone. I'm also going to be the main point of contact in the help desk as long as Carissa. So if you guys reach out to us, we can answer any questions you may have. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the website here so we can then go through the live demo together. All right, let me zoom in. I know last time it's a little. All right. So for today's demo, I'm going to walk you through the process of how to benchmark a commercial office building in Portfolio Manager. When you go to energystar.gov/benchmark, takes you to this main page where on the right here, you can either go ahead and log in and create your account. All right, let me zoom in here. Once we create an account, you can just go ahead, add your name, contact information, anything about your organization. For the sake of today, we're gonna go ahead and just log in. We already have an account created. All right, let's see if that looks better. Okay, so now that we're on the Energy Star dashboard, right, this is right when you log in. For today, we're gonna do a 3-step process. We're going to add a property and then add a meter and then add energy consumption to that meter. To start off kind of on this dashboard, I want to go over some things here. On the top right is where you're going to see your account settings. This is where you adjust your contact information, change your password, and set up different web services. In the notifications tab, this is where you're going to be seeing your sharing requests from other portfolio manager accounts. Under Energy Star notifications, this is where you're going to see alerts from Energy Star, such as score changes or utility connection opportunities. The contacts tab is where you can add or delete contacts. This is kind of where you'll need to add folks as a contact before you submit a sharing request. And the help tab is going to be where you can access reference guides, FAQs, glossaries, training, help desk questions, all that over here in terms of Energy Star. And now when we go back to the main page on the dashboard, we're going to see these 4 tabs appear. The My Portfolio tab is where you see your dashboard on the right. It's where you can add new properties, and you'll be able to access your properties based on how many buildings you have. They'll all be listed here. The sharing tab is where you can share properties with other portfolio manager accounts after you've added them as a contact. The reporting tab is where you can go ahead and see all your templates and reports. And this is where you'll see after you created your property, added your energy data, and are ready to submit, this is where you submit your property to the city. Once you go to the reporting tab, you click data requests from others. Now here you could see that there are some Colorado data requests. What you'll be seeing here is the 2023 Miami data request. There are going to be directions on how you can submit, but this is essentially where you'll go. And lastly, the recognition tab provides you information on Energy Star recognition for various building types, as well as shows you past certification applications. Now that we've kind of walked through kind of the basics of what the energy site looks like, what we're going to do is then add a property, which is step 1 of the 3. So when you navigate to My Portfolio, you're going to go right here and click Add Property. We're going to create, like I said, a commercial office building. And so once it takes you to this page, you use the drop down as you see a list of all the property types that they offer. For today, we're going to scroll down and just go to office. You can go ahead and answer any of these questions that pertain to your property, but today we're going to say that this is one single building. And when you select the status of your building, you're going to select existing. This property is built, occupied, and or is being used. But for today's sake, I'm going to click test property and enter my data as if it's in operation. So once you click get started, this is where you select information about your property. You enter all the data that you need. So we're just going to go ahead and do fake address here. Many people don't know the year the building was built. You could go ahead and just guesstimate on this. For the buildings that are due June 30th, it's going to be buildings above 200,000 square feet. So we're just going to go ahead and make that our building size with an occupancy of 100%. And now this part right here, standard ID, this is kind of what we went over a little bit earlier today. Everyone is given a Miami ID. This is very, very important for you to add your ID to your building when you're creating it. You're going to go ahead and scroll down, go to Miami building ID, and it's going to be a letter M followed by 5 numbers. So go ahead, enter that. If you don't enter your ID and you send your report, we will not be able to receive it. There's no way. It'll basically just be sent to the void. An ID is identification that we need to see to receive your information. And then you'll answer some questions here if these apply to your property. For the sake of today, we're going to skip this part. Continue. Now, this next page asks you some simple questions about the building use. So typically you'll just answer, say, weekly operating hours. You can go ahead and say this is a normal 40-hour work week of the building. How many people are working here? Go ahead and get this number. Number of computers, usually it's a 1-to-1 number for how many people are working at the building. And then we're going to say that our building can be 50% or more heated and 50% or more cooled. Okay, once we add the property. All right, so now that we've added the property, let's go ahead and go over the page that takes you to. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. Now that you see that once you log in, you can see that we've created this Miami demo. You're going to be able to add as many properties as you'd like, and they're all going to be listed here on your dashboard. Okay. So now that we go to Miami demo. All right, so while we're here, I'm just going to go over what these tabs are. The summary tab is the landing page for the property. It shows you your Energy Star score up here on the right. After you've entered your energy data, this is where you'll see the score based on 1 to 100, 100 being your building is very efficient. If there is no score after you've entered your data, you can always click up here where it says why not score, and it'll give you a brief explanation. And as you can see, we have no energy meters. There's no data. It's a brand new property. All right, under the details tab, this is where you're going to see all details that we just added about your property, the size. Under standard IDs, once you view here, you could see that we've added a building ID. And over on the right over here is your building use. This is going to be all the data that we just entered about your building. If there's any changes or corrections that you want to make to this information, you can always go, there's going to be this drop down right here. It says, I want to correct mistakes. And you can go ahead, it takes you to that page, add anything that you'd want to update and save your corrections. All right. So now when we go here to the energy tab, this is where you're going to create your add meters and for your electric and gas. The water is going to be the same thing. You can add a meter for water. Waste and materials, you can go ahead and add waste data as well. We're not requiring it, but it's up to you if you want to track that. The goals tab is where you could set goals for your specific property. And the design tab is going to be the tab where you would use for designing a building that you want to meet Energy Star standards in the future. So now that we've gone through creating a property, step 2 of 3 is going to be adding a meter. So I'm going to show you how to do that under energy. You're going to repeat the same process for water, but today we're going to show you how to add an electric and gas meter. Once you click add a meter, you're going to go ahead and toggle here to electric, purchase from grid. Of course, there's some if you have solar panels, and then natural gas. Once we're on this page, this is where you're going to add basic information about your meter. When you go to click here, you could always edit the name of your gas and electric meter. Typically, what you're going to do is add the units for both meters. Units for therms, units for gas are typically therms, so that's what we're going to put today. But all these options are here. You can go ahead based off of your gas bill. Oops. Given that for the 2023 reporting year, we're looking for energy data for the entire year of 2022. And so what we're trying to find is everything starting from January 1st, 2022, which is the date the meter became active, because it's the first bill that we want to enter. We're going to repeat the same process for electric. You can always edit the name here. We're going to put kilowatt hours for our electric meter and the same date for 2022. All right, this is just showing you kind of what the meters are going to look like for electric and gas. You can go ahead and continue. And now we see here how these two are selected. We want these two to then, when you click this one, these meters, we want them to account for the total energy consumption of the whole building. And you're going to go ahead and apply your selection. Okay, so now that we've created meters, now that you go in, when you go into the energy tab, you're going to see 2 meters created, one for electric, one for gas. All right, and then you're going to do the same thing for water, which is the same process. It just asks you what your units are and editing the name of the meter. So now that you know how to create a meter, what we're going to do, I'm going to show you how you can upload information to this meter by adding your energy data. So when you click on electric meter, all right, there are 2 ways to do this. One of them is entering your data in bulk by downloading a spreadsheet and uploading it to this meter. When you download the spreadsheet, it's going to essentially be the same thing here that you're kind of just these columns that show you the start date, end date, usage, and total cost. We are just looking for the usage. Cost is not required to be entered, but that's up to you if you want to track that yourself. On the spreadsheet, once you fill everything out from start date to end date, all you have to do is upload it. If you don't want to go spreadsheet route, we could go ahead and manually add them here. So when we add an entry, we're going to go ahead and enter the very first day that we want to add, which is for the first month of 2022. And as you see here, it'll already auto-populate. And then once you go ahead and do that, you can add another entry, and as you see, it kind of just brings you to the very next month. We want to do this for the entire year. So we're just going to go ahead and go all the way to December. There we go. And given that we don't want to confuse this, I'm just going to go ahead and edit this to make it the very last day of 2022. So we start from the first day of 2022 and end it on the last day. And like I said, it's going to be the same thing in the spreadsheet method. If you want to go ahead and do the same exact entries, you can do that and upload it, or you could do it here. So once you've done that, you're going to add your usage for every month. We're going to make up some numbers here. Okay. Go ahead. We've added all this. Let's go ahead and save our bills. And now, as you can see, it's saved our information, and now we have a whole year's worth of data for electric. We have to repeat the process for gas and repeat the process for water. All right, so if I just go back to the main page and go back to the energy tab, you will see here that under electric meter, we have the most recent bill date is all the way to 12/31/2022. And now you could always ask for aggregate data from your utility providers. If they send you a spreadsheet, go ahead and upload that into the meter instead of manually adding it. If they provide you a spreadsheet, you can always go ahead and just choose the file and upload it here. So it saves you some time. All right, that kind of concludes the demo for today. What we went over was created a property, we created a meter, and then we added energy consumption to that meter. I'm gonna now open it up for any questions if anyone has any. I'm gonna stop sharing here and see. So I know Reynaldo has been in the chat answering some questions for you guys, but if you have any other questions, you could always just unmute yourself and ask, but it seems that Reynaldo has been on top of it in terms of the chat here.
I do have a follow-up for Reynaldo on one of his question that I had. On the multiple buildings on my property, I have 5 different building IDs. 2 of the building IDs have the exact same square footage. And then I have another building that's showing 4 million square foot, which I do not have a building with 4 million square feet.
Okay, so yes, so that was one thing that we also wanted to depend on the property managers and building owners to assist us with. So if you do have you know, the correct or updated square footage, you can send that to me, and I'll go ahead and have the Touchstone team update that. You know, it was kind of tricky getting square footage for a lot of these buildings. We used county LiDAR data, but it was from, you know, previous years. So we are going to depend a little bit on the property managers and building owners. So if you do have updated square footage, we can definitely update that for you. You can just send that over to me, and we'll get that done.
Okay. And in the meantime, how do I figure out which building is which, since they all have the same address?
Let me take a look. What's your address?
3663
Okay.
South Miami Avenue.
All right, 1 second. This is Mercy, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Okay, so what I could do is kind of send you like a snapshot of where the buildings would be located on the property. So I'll kind of just write like number 1, 2, 3 on them with their building ID. You know, we're kind of working on that, on getting that map up and running. But I can send you that myself in the meantime if you'd like.
I greatly appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, not a problem. I'll work on that, and then I'll just I'll email that to you.
Okay. You have my email?
I believe I do, because I get it from the registration that you did for the Zoom. So
Perfect. Thank you, Reynaldo.
yep, no problem. I think the other participant dropped, so we'll go ahead and then end this session. If you do have any other questions, you can always reach out to the help desk or myself. But yeah, thank you for joining, and everybody have a good day.
Thank you. Yeah, everybody have a great one. Appreciate it.